Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and it's an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, my international friends, join us as we get together to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff. And we are, of course, today joined by the one and the only Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
John, I am doing so well, but I got to tell you, in less than 6 days.
6 days? What's happening? Nothing's happening in 6 days.
We live in a world where The Mandalorian will have aired and we will have seen it.
Dude, I am getting so excited for this show.
Dude, I'm Ghibli.
Yeah, I mean, last night, Ann and I watched the season finale of Mayans on FX, and they showed an exclusive peek during the season finale of the new Mandalorian, showing a couple of shots that we've not seen before.
Yep, I saw that.
And my enthusiasm is just going through. Harloff and I talked about this on yesterday's. By the way, if you haven't seen it, Dark Side, Light Side debuted yesterday. It's up on the YouTube channel. You can go find it there. We talked a lot about that, but yep, 6 days, dude. A week today, we'll have seen it. It'll be past tense. We will have seen the first episode of Mandalorian.
And there's 2 episodes the first week.
Yes.
There's one that drops Tuesday and then Friday.
One on Friday. And
so
then
we're getting
weekly.
2 hours. We're basically getting a Star Wars movie next week, split over a couple days. I can't believe that.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, and I am so excited, and I'm sure many of you guys are excited about it as well. Listen, we do have a whole bunch of things that we're going to talk about here today. New Batman cast. I'm telling you what, the cast of this Batman movie keeps getting better and better. We'll talk about that in a little bit. What is the difference between a movie studio and a distribution company? Why does one need the other? We're going to talk about that a little bit as well. A movie we've all been excited about, 1917, comes out tomorrow, Rob.
Wait, what?
1917 comes out tomorrow.
The World War I movie that was made by the guy who directed Skyfall?
Yes.
Sam Mendes?
Comes out tomorrow. Sorry. Did I say 1917? I meant Midway.
Oh, okay, 1917. Midway.
I meant Midway.
Yeah, has anyone... Apologies. Wait, Midway? Where's a review?
No, that's the thing. No reviews yet. Comes out tomorrow. Still no reviews.
Oh, no.
Also, we're going to talk about Godzilla versus Kong. 4 months away. Still hasn't come out. As a matter of fact, that's going to be our first topic. Let's talk about our topics here, guys. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. See, you guys come up with them by simply going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, fill out the form that you see with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get on to our first question of the day. And our first question today comes to us from Justin, who writes, Godzilla vs. Kong is set to be released on March 13th, 2020. It's November. We're just over 4 months away, and we have no teaser, trailer, or any promotional material. Outside of a teaser poster, which was thin at the best, should we be worried? I understand that Warner Brothers and Legendary might be a little apprehensive as their promotion for King of the Monsters dragged out quite a bit, probably to the detrimental of the film, which may have ultimately hurt the box office. And yeah, listen, one of the most common questions that I get on the show or any of the shows is, John, X movie hasn't had a trailer yet. Should we be worried? I mean, you guys would be surprised how often I get those messages. Quite often. Now, often those messages are about a movie that's coming out in 7 months or 8 months or 9 months away. And my common refrain is, first of all, it's a piece of marketing. It doesn't matter. There's nothing to worry about a piece of marketing. They put out amazing trailers for completely crappy movies. There's nothing to worry about a trailer. By the way, movie studios still put out trailers far too early in advance today. I still believe they put out trailers far too early in advance today. And so that's normally my refrain. That said, Godzilla vs. Kong is a high-profile, big tentpole film that the studio's going to want to do well, especially considering that Godzilla King of the Monsters, which some people did not like and some people liked very much, did not do very well at the box office. We are just 4 months out, and I have to admit that even I, the person who always says, get over it, We don't need trailers this early, blah, blah. I got to admit that even I find it a little bit curious, Rob, that we are about 4 months out and still have nothing to see for it. Now, look, a movie not having a trailer 4 months out is not terribly unusual.
No.
But as the scale of the movie gets bigger, the more and more unusual it becomes, right? We can sit here and pull out a couple of examples of movies that didn't pull out trailers till 3 months out or whatever. Yeah, but I'm just saying it's not all that often that happens, particularly when it's a big movie, no pun intended, with giants like Godzilla and King Kong. Is this something to be worried about? I don't think so. I don't think it's something to be worried about because we're talking about a commercial, right? At the end, we're talking about a commercial. But I will say this, Rob, I do find it intriguing. I got to say I'm intrigued. What's going on? Because the person who wrote in brings up a great point. And that point was, I believe just one, but one of the factors that went into a little bit of the underperformance of Godzilla was the fact that they were promoting it and having trailers coming out for it for a year. I think by the time the movie finally came out, I think people had been excited about it, started to cool on it, and then were kind of over it before the movie even came out. Is this a situation where we're seeing Warner Brothers just kind of swinging the pendulum really the other way, saying, you know what, we're going to go for a quick, short, and sweet marketing push and see if that can be more effective? Listen, again, I don't think it's anything to worry about, but I got to admit, I'm at least a little bit intrigued. What do you think about this, Robin? When do you think they might actually pull the trigger and drop the first trailer?
Well, first of all, I think it's not, like you said, it's not something we should worry about, but it is a film that is effects heavy, and I think they're going to wait. I mean, this movie was in production. The effects in this movie are going to take a while to do. I think they're going to drop the trailer probably in December. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one in front of Rise of Skywalker, because as you know, this holiday movie season, a lot of movies are coming out, a lot of excitement for a lot of different kinds of things. It's not necessarily the best time to promote something new in November, but as we get to December and people know the movie year is ending, and they can anticipate what's coming next year, I think it's a perfect time to start a new movie campaign in December. We'll drop a trailer in December as a Christmas present, as it were. It gives them time to work on the effects more, because I'm sure that, look, this has got to be, it's not like it has a bunch of monsters. This is Godzilla versus King Kong. So you got two dudes, or a girl if you think Godzilla's a girl, because he or she does have a son. So it's like, they want to make sure this looks great. And the Monsterverse, it underperformed, even though it did, almost $400 million. These are expensive movies to make. I think they're waiting for the right time. I think when they come out of the gate, it's going to be something that people go, oh, I have to see that. And they're going to wait and release it in a time where it's not lost amongst the holiday movies, the Oscar contenders, what everybody's, the pundits are talking about, whose performance is here and what's this and what's that. And I think maybe toward the end of December, we'll see that trailer.
Question is, guys, what do you think about this? Are you kind of the camp? It's like, you know what? Marketing windows have been shortening up. We're still 4 months out. It's really not a big deal. Are you on the other end of that saying, oh my God, they haven't put out a trailer, something's going wrong? Or are you kind of like me, you're a little bit in the middle? It's like, I'm not worried about it, but I am at least intrigued. What do you think about it? Jump down in the comments section below and leave us your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our second main topic today. And our second main topic today gets sent in to us from CBJFan42, who writes, hey, John, I've been excited for Midway since I saw that first trailer, despite Roland Emmerich's recent struggles, but it comes out on Thursday, and the review embargo appears to still be in place. Isn't it a little concerning that the studio isn't showing any confidence in this movie? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, CBJFan. And yeah, listen, there's this little movie coming out this weekend, Midway, that when they announced it, it's a Roland Emmerich thing. Okay, big explosions. It's going to be bag of crap, probably. Despite the fact that Roland Emmerich's done some good stuff, make no mistake. But then the first trailer came out. And I remember all of us were like, wait a minute. That actually doesn't look half bad. That doesn't look terrible. So you suddenly started to find a lot of people were actually kind of getting excited for this Midway movie, me included. I think, Rob, you were actually kind of pumped for it, too.
Still am.
And then it just very kind of quietly snuck up on us. And it wasn't until about Monday that I realized, oh, yeah, Midway opens this week. Wow. And then I didn't even realize that this morning we are 1 day away. I mean, technically the opening date is the 8th, but we all know that means it opens Thursday the 7th. We're 1 day out from this movie opening. And as of 20 minutes ago, there were still no trailers. No review embargo had, or no reviews. The review embargo had still not been listed. Now listen, there have been some exceptions to this rule about when a studio shows no confidence in a movie and refuses to release a review embargo until the day before a movie comes out. There have been a few exceptions. There have. That where it turned out to be the movie wasn't half bad. But most of the time, that is a giant red flag to us as fans that the studio is saying, we don't even think this movie's any good. So we want to make sure you don't find out that it's no good until you've already bought your tickets for opening weekend. That's normally the message. And as of this morning at 8:45 a.m., it is now 9:10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. As of 8:45 a.m., the review embargo had still not been lifted. And it's the day before. I can tell you, though, as of 5 minutes ago, the review embargo has lifted. The review embargo, Rob, the national nightmare is over. The review embargo for Midway has now it's lifted. The day before, and it's not looking good.
Has anyone dropped a review yet?
Yes. As of right now, as of this moment, Rotten Tomatoes has 22 reviews counted. It is holding where is it right now? It is currently holding a beefy 36% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, if we were wondering why they were holding off on the review embargo till the day before the movie comes out, I think now we know why.
Is there any Variety, any trade review, Hollywood Reporter where
Let's
they
see if there's any of the major ones right now.
I'm bummed out, man. I got to tell you, I was excited for this movie. You know, I'm not a Roland Emmerich detractor. I even like
we talked about that Shakespeare movie he did a few years ago that I actually really liked.
I mean, I didn't like White House Down as much as I liked Olympus Has Fallen, but I still liked it.
All right, so here we go. Right now, IndieWire has got a review out, and they give it a negative review. The Wrap has a review out. It's given it a negative review. The Chicago Tribune is a negative review. I'm looking for the.
Is there any headlines for these? Do they have any way we can judge the?
Okay, well, let's see. This is from IndieWire. A bland as hell, Walmart-ready torpedo by numbers retelling of World War II's most decisive naval battle. So that's IndieWire. Bland as hell, Walmart-ready torpedo by the numbers. Let's see. The Wrap by somebody we know, William Bibbiani, wrote this one. There's no denying that he fills his films with breathtaking images of aerial action and naval warfare, but like many of Emmerich's movies, even the better ones, Midway loses sight of the humanity inside its vast vistas of devastation. Chicago Tribune writes, Emmerich's Midway manages to corral a screen full of true-life characters up and down the chain of command, yet you can't even buy the real true material here. So on and on. There are a couple of positive ones, but mostly from outlets we've never heard of.
You know, I was pulling for this movie. I love my World War II movies.
I got on board with this movie as soon as I saw the trailer. But the moment we find out, it's the day before the movie and the reviews have still not been released to come out, that's not a good sign. Am I still going to go see this tomorrow? Probably. I'm probably still going to go see it because
you've seen Dr. Sleep already.
I've already seen Dr. Sleep, but I'm going to go see it again this weekend because Anne hasn't seen it yet. So there's going to be that. But I don't know, Rob, has this hit your enthusiasm at all, or how are you feeling about it?
Enthusiasms. I'm not enthusiastic anymore. This is not good, John. I wanted to see this. When I was a kid, I built every World War II airplane and model airplane. They were hanging from my ceiling, of my bedroom. And I love World War II aerial combat. And I was excited for this movie. And maybe I'll just have to stick with the 70s version that was once released in Sense Around. I mean, it bums me out, John. I'm not happy about this. But you know what? They're not saying it's bad. They're just saying it's bland. And you know what? World War II, I could take bland. If they said it was awful, like maybe a Pearl Harbor situation, which, by the way, I have a secret like for Pearl Harbor.
Hey, Pearl Harbor has some upside. There are some positive things in Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll go into that now.
Maybe I'll just buy this movie when it comes out and I'll watch it with Pearl Harbor on an endless loop.
But again, it wouldn't be. This is the funny thing. We could be seeing these exact same reviews if it was 4 days ago and the studio had at least showed the confidence to release the review embargo. I would feel better about it. But even the studio doesn't believe in this movie. Even the studio thinks this movie is bad. That's the unfortunate thing to me. And hopefully, it hit my enthusiasm.
I mean, hopefully, maybe the Chinese will dig it because it looks like it's got great action. Maybe it'll do well internationally. A movie like this,
hey, it'll have some international legs. A movie like this will.
Yeah, I just don't. I take no pleasure in a movie not being great.
I agree. All right, guys, question is, were you even looking forward to Midway? I know I was. Does this do anything to help, hurt, or nothing at all your enthusiasm about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Thomas, who writes, "Hey, guys. So it appears that Andy Serkis is in talks to play Alfred in The Batman. In addition, Colin Farrell is in talks for the Penguin. What do you think of this news? Would Andy Serkis working on this film interfere with Venom 2? Thanks, and keep up the great work." All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And all of a sudden, yesterday, we knew we were going to start getting some Fast and Furious releases of castings and all that sort of stuff. The rosters and the dance card is starting to get filled up. But they have announced 2 new names, Andy Serkis and Colin Farrell. Now, it's important to point out at this point, these are now in talks. What that now means is that the studio has decided, yes, we want this person for the role, and the actor has said, yes, we are interested in that role, and now they're just working out the details of a contract. 9 times out of 10, that means they lock it down. But as we've seen with Jonah Hill on The Batman, it doesn't always work out. So there is still a possibility out there that maybe Andy Serkis and Colin Farrell don't work out for this. It is likely that it will, but we'll go with that for now. You are now looking at, Rob, a cast that includes Robert Pattinson, Paul Dano. We got, I keep on wanting to say Zazie Beetz, Zoe Kravitz, who's been killing it lately.
Yeah.
We've got Jeffrey Wright, who is utterly magnificent. Now adding Colin Farrell, which, if all you've ever seen of Colin Farrell is Daredevil, okay, maybe you've got to think. But if you saw him in Saving Mr. Banks, which I contend he deserved an Academy Award nomination for, if you saw him in Bruges, which I contend was an Oscar-level kind of performance, if you saw him in Lobster, which was an Oscar kind of level performance, this is a great casting. Now, would I have thought of Colin Farrell for Penguin? No, that wouldn't have come off the top of my head, but that's why we always say, I'm just worried about talent. Are you getting a talented person? Because only the writers and the director of the film know what kind of Penguin they're going for, so they know whether or not Colin Farrell's a good match or not. We don't. But they got a really talented guy. And I love me some Andy Serkis. Andy Serkis as a badass Alfred would be incredible. Look at the cast they've been putting together. Again, Colin Farrell might be the biggest superstar name here, but they haven't really been going for the big superstar names. They've been going for pure, undiluted, exceptional talent. And that gives me so much confidence about what their philosophy regarding this movie is, dude. And if these two work out, I cannot believe how much. And remember, it's not just the names that I'm excited about. I'm excited about what this tells me about the mindset of the filmmakers in putting this film together and how they want to approach it. That's what excites me. That's what excites me about this. So I think this is absolutely phenomenal, incredible. Rob, you heard this. I don't know. Am I getting a little bit too worked up about this, or how do you feel about this news?
Hell no. I think more than anything, it speaks to the script.
Right.
I think these actors didn't all agree to sign on this movie because it's just Batman. I think they all needed to read the script first, and they've all been impressed. That's why they're getting this. I mean, look, how we joked about this film. How long did it take them to pull the trigger to make this movie? They were working on the script. I think we're probably, at least judging by this cast, we're going to get something pretty special with this. I think it's going to be very different from what Chris Nolan did. I think it's certainly going to be different from what Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher did. I think we're in for something pretty cool with this movie. I don't know what that is yet. But by and look, you talk about Colin Farrell. Can I just talk about Michael Mann's Miami Vice, where he came and played Sonny Crockett? I'm a
By
huge
the way,
fan.
I think he did a great job.
He was great. I'm a huge Miami Vice fan. A lot of people are like, I love Michael Mann's Miami Vice.
Can you make that sound again? A little penguin there yourself.
No, I loved Miami Vice. And I love Jamie Foxx as Tubbs. But I think this is going to be great. I'm really, really excited for this movie. And I have to tell you, I think this is going to be a win again. Walter Hamada's new DC is been killing it. I mean, we've got auteurist visions for these characters, whether it's James Wan's goofy fantasy of Aquaman that I loved, Patty Jenkins with Wonder Woman, which I can't wait to see. Of course, Todd Phillips and Joker. Who knows what the emancipation of Harley Quinn is going to be like, but I'm sure it's going to be interesting, and I think this movie is going to be. I can't wait for this movie.
By the way, just side note: when I went in to go watch Doctor Sleep, they did play a quick trailer for they did play like 2 or 3 trailers, which they normally don't do for these advanced screenings.
Right.
But they did play like 2 or 3 trailers. One of them was the Harley Quinn trailer. I have not liked the Harley Quinn trailers. I will say this: seeing it again, I don't know what changed. But I didn't mind it as much.
Right.
I'm not saying I liked it, but I'm saying, I watched it again and I didn't mind it as much. So we'll see with the role that DC's on right now.
Something just struck me, John. King Kong versus Godzilla is a Warner movie.
Yes.
And then you've got Harley Quinn coming out. You've got Wonder Woman 84 coming out. So the first half of 2020 for Warner Brothers, they've got some genre films coming out. And we haven't seen a Wonder Woman 84 trailer. And that comes out in May.
Right.
I think that Warner Brothers might be beginning a coordinated push for their genre movies because they all appeal to the same audience. I think maybe we're going to see the spigot of promotion turn on in December. So we'll probably see a Wonder Woman trailer. We'll get a Godzilla versus King Kong trailer. And they're really going to push because they know for the first half of 2020, they got Comic-Con fan-related movies coming out. So maybe they're doing something coordinated like that. I don't know.
A question here is, guys, what do you think about the possible additions here, and it looks like it's going to happen, of Andy Serkis and Colin Farrell to a cast that already includes Paul Dano, Jeffrey Wright, Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz. I mean, this is becoming almost silly at this point. What do you guys think about it? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's move on to our 4th and final main topic today. And our 4th and final main topic today comes to us from Omar94, who writes, I like reading up a lot on film and notice how in classic Hollywood, each big studio, like Warner Brothers, RKO Pictures, Paramount, etc., made movies on their own by doing both production and distribution. Now, there are so many companies involved on just one movie alone. I'm curious to know how movies get made now, as the big studios don't do it alone anymore. All right, thanks a lot for that question, Omar. And listen, the question you're asking could go off in 500 different directions,
Yeah.
and we could be talking about 1,000 different things. But, basically talking about, and something we get asked quite a bit, Rob, and people send in questions is about, wait, what's going on? Why the distributor? It usually really comes up when you're talking about the Hulk, right? Because people go, why doesn't Marvel just make a Hulk movie? Because Universal's got the rights. But I thought Marvel has the rights. Marvel does have the rights to make the movie. Universal has the rights to distribute the movie. What's the difference? Why are there differences? All that kind of stuff. So that's a question that comes up quite a bit, and we have people asking us about all the time. Let me put it in a basic term, and then we'll throw it over to Rob, who's much more sage about all this. We'll let him have the final word on this. Basically speaking, there are two main parts about getting a movie made and into theaters, and that's the making of the movie and then actually getting it in front of eyeballs. And they're two different things. Traditionally speaking, a production company will make their movie. They have the rights to a book, or they write their own script, or they have the rights to whatever, and they make their movie, and there you go, you have it made. Now, pardon me, in the case of the big major studios, like a Disney, like a Warner Brothers, these are studios that have production arms and they have their own distribution networks. So they will quite often take care of that on their own. However, there are many, many, many production studios that do not have their own distribution arms, and therefore they need to get distribution. That is why we see film festivals like Sundance or many other film festivals where basically filmmakers and companies bring their movies hoping that a distributor will want to buy the rights to be the distributors for their movies and distribute their film. The distribution of a film is a totally different thing there. That's about having the pre-established networking, the right relationships, the business connections with all the various places, the expertise in knowing where and when to put a film, and maybe most importantly, being the one to put up the money for the marketing of that film. And you make the decisions about the marketing and all that kind of stuff. And let's face it, a lot of filmmakers simply do not have the cheddar to market a movie. And they don't have the connections and the wherewithal to get their movie into. They don't have the pre-existing distribution deals and outlet agreements and all that kind of stuff that a distributor will have. As far as a lot of companies working together now, it's not uncommon in Hollywood history. This goes back a long way. There's always been, when there's been a movie that's been particularly large and huge, that studios will go in on it together. They will mitigate their own financial risk by bringing in a partner, sometimes two, sometimes three, maybe even more, so that they limit their own financial exposure and spread out the risk a little bit. And then if the movie works, then everybody wins and all that kind of stuff. So that's not really unique and that's not really new. But the whole thing about the distributor and production studio relationship, that's kind of the basic way it breaks down. Rob, you know more about this than I do. You've had to work on getting more stuff distributed than I've had to work with distributors, get my stuff distributed, but you've done a lot more and on a bigger level than me. How would you define to somebody the fundamental difference between, what a production company does and what a distributor does, and why a distributor is needed?
Well, first of all, movies are expensive to make. And a lot of people are under the impression that the studios just are sitting on these mountains of cash that they can use to make movies. That is not true. Making movies means you need liquid cash because you have to pay everybody every week. So when you're making a film, say you're making a Jurassic World, or a Star Wars movie or a James Bond movie, and you're going to spend $200 or $300 million to make one of those films. The studios don't have $200 or $300 million in liquid cash lying around. So they're borrowing this money from banks because the studios
or other financiers
or other right, they're borrowing from, so that's why they need to get also other financiers to come in to help finance these movies, because they have different financing sources. And if you're a studio, how do you finance, say, 5 $200 million movies a year? That's $1 billion in liquid cash. No one has that kind of thing, amount of money lying around, especially in the entertainment business. Other businesses like Apple might or something. But so money is churning. It's like a whirlpool. It's constantly, you've got money coming in, you've got money coming out. That's just for production. And everyone has to get paid at the end of the week. So you can't do it on credit. You actually have to have money in an account to pay people. So that's what's going on with production. Distribution, say A24, my beloved A24, that put out The Lighthouse. A24 is looking around now. They have also financed films. They're starting to finance movies themselves, but it's far smaller. What they do is they'll go to a festival, like you said, John, and they're looking for other movies that other people have financed, and they will pick them up for distribution. And in the case of A24, they'll make a deal. They'll be like, okay, it's a percentage deal. We're going to spend the money to market. And as we know, marketing a movie can also be, on an independent movie, good marketing could exceed the budget.
Even on big Hollywood films, that has happened.
Absolutely. It's hard to market a movie because now movie marketing is global. So there's a lot of money that's being spent there as well. Now, that has nothing to do with production. So if you're an independent filmmaker trying to finance a film, you might have 6 or 7 different finance companies coming in to finance that movie for you. And then you owe them. They expect everybody's got a deal that you've made, a financing deal. There's a thing called first money in. So your first investor who's giving you money might be first money out. So before you get paid, before you make any profit, your investors need to get paid back. So it's important as an independent filmmaker that you find a distributor that's going to do well for you. And companies like A24, they've done a pretty great job of picking up really interesting independent films that somebody else financed, that then they pick up, they decide on the marketing campaign, and they figure out ways to make the movie come out and be, like you said, put in front of eyeballs. But it's a whole different thing. Now, A24 has gotten into financing their own movies, but they started out as a distribution company. And so they're different from a studio. I mean, they might become a studio, but it's a very interesting, and you can see how it's then really difficult to make big profits when you have, say, 5 different entities that have first produced the film, and then you have your distributor taking their cheddar because they expect to make money as well.
Yep.
So if you have an independent movie, say you've made a movie that costs $5 million, right? And it goes to Sundance, like you said. A distributor like A24 sees it. There might be other distributors, they'll say, we'll give you $8 million to buy your movie. So you sell that movie for $8 million. It cost you $5 million. Then you pay your distributors back, and your profit after the 30% they take, I don't know what the numbers are, might only be $2 million. And then that goes into the director might have a percentage, the actors might have a percentage. So that's all they make. Now, you might have a deal with a distributor that you get some money from that, but you'll never see it. So on an independent movie, you might only make $2 or $3 million, and that's if you're lucky. That's if it's a great independent movie.
Yeah, a lot of independent movies don't make any money.
They don't make any money.
Lose money.
But if you make a $5 million movie, you sell it for $8 million, that's a win.
Yeah,
that's a win for everybody involved. So it's a crazy business. But on big studio movies, they might, if you're making $200 million movies a year, that's why you have to get Chinese money, like say from Alibaba, or you go to Dubai, or you get other monies from all over the world to try and get the movie made, even big studios, because they're not sitting on $1 billion of liquid cash.
All right, guys. The question is, does that clear it up for you? Do you still have questions about the whole thing? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know what you would add to that as well.
I mean, John, we could talk about this for hours.
Oh, no, we could talk about this for days. I mean, the intricacies of it is so... I still remember, Rob, when I did my film, when I did the anniversary, and I remember... It was huge to me because I had the company that had the digital distribution rights to Boondock Saints.
Right, okay.
And they approached me, and I still remember sitting in with that, and I was so excited at first. It's like this serious Hollywood distributor of smaller films, like they're looking at my film, blah, and then so discouraged about really financially what that would mean and like how big of a expense would be for them, which ultimately mean I wasn't going to see a dime.
Yep.
Even getting them to distribute. And it was so like realizing how complicated that world really is.
Yeah,
it's disheartening sometimes.
I hate to say it, but independent film distributors, as much as I like them, they're not interested in paying you any money.
No, I mean, and hey, there are success stories.
Yeah,
there are, but that's kind of why part of the thing I love about YouTube is that we don't need a distributor for the John Campea. We don't need a network or a distributor to do the John Campea Show.
And you've got worldwide distribution instantaneously.
Instantaneous worldwide audience, ladies and gentlemen. All right, listen, guys. We're going to move on and take your live questions now. You guys have been firing in some live questions, but before we do, with your permission, we're going to take a short little break here, stretch our legs, refill our drinks. So if you'll bear with us for just a couple of minutes, we're going to take we're going to say it's a 4-minute break. Hang tight with us, guys. We will be right back. right, and we are back. Thank you guys for your indulgence as we took a little bit of a break, but now let's get to business here and start taking your questions. By the way, before we get to the live questions, I want to let you guys know, for those of you who are Patreon supporters, most days during the week we do a John Campea Show post-show chat over on our Discord server, and me and Robert Meyer Burnett are going to jump right over there when the show is done to talk about today's topics and whatever with you guys. So come and join us in there for those of you, of course, who are Patreon supporters. Okay. With that down, let's get into your live questions. And the first live question today comes to us from either Audrey, who writes, one of three. Weekly anime recommendation, genre, action, suspense. Overlord, leader of an evil guild, Monmanga, is the last person to stay in the VR MMO as its servers close. When the clock hits zero, he finds himself stuck in a new world, with the guild's NPCs becoming fully fleshed people as he deals with his mortality/emotions being suppressed by his skeletal body racial trait. He must find his place while meeting everyone's expectations of greatness.
I'd watch that. That sounds pretty cool.
I'll tell you what sounds most cool about that. It sounds like a grittier version of Wreck-It Ralph. It sounds like Wreck-It Ralph, but on kind of a grittier sort of level. What's the name of this thing again? Overlord. Leader. No, it's just Overlord. Overlord is the name of it. Sounds interesting. All right, either Audrey, thank you so much for the weekly recommendation, dude. We always like seeing those. All right. Next up here, we have Kenneth Colton writes, hey, Gio, I must say, when you talk about the caliber level of talent that is being cast for Batman, this is getting crazy good. And seriously... And look, I can't emphasize this point enough. It's not that they're just getting big names. They're getting maybe not the biggest names, but they're clearly just focusing on incredible talent. And to me, if you take that approach with the actors you're getting, I think you're going to take a similar approach with the characters you're going to develop, with the story that you're going to tell. It tells me that they are focused on one thing and one thing only. Excellence. Just pure excellence.
Yep.
And adding these two names, I mean, this is the funny thing, Rob. You know what the least talented name on that whole list is? Andy Serkis. That's the least talented name on that list. When Andy Serkis is in there and you say that might be the least talented dude, that's like going to a dinner party with a bunch of rock stars and seeing, I don't know, Steve Tyler there and saying, yeah, he's the least talented rock star in this room. What does that tell you about the room that they're in, right? So I didn't you see this list, Rob. What do you think?
I'm just blown away. That's why we were just saying it. I mean, it looks to me like they're really taking their time. They're really being careful and considered with what they're doing. And it looks like, I mean, dare I say it, I think they're planning to do a trilogy, and they're laying the groundwork. You know, Matt Reeves is coming off of 2 Planet of the Apes movies where he worked with Andy Serkis and knows what a genius the guy is. So it makes sense to me that Andy Serkis would be in this film. And I think that if they go the more, the animated series route where Alfred's kind of more of a witty, sort of a badass kind of, like just had a lot to say. I think that having that kind of repartee with Bruce Wayne's going to be interesting.
By the way, somebody asked earlier, and the question that came up is, do we think this could interfere with his directing of Venom 2? I don't think so, because look, a lot of movies, entire shoots are 2 months, right? And you don't have your main stars on set every single day. I mean, most of them, but not every single day. With a role like Alfred, I wouldn't doubt it if for something like, if Alfred's in like 15, 20 minutes of the movie, which would be significant, he could probably knock that out in 7 to 10 days. I mean, really. So I don't think it's going to be that big of an impediment. Especially
if he's at the Batcave or in Wayne Manor. Yeah. You're going to be in the same set, so you shoot all that. You shoot you shoot him out. And like you said, he doesn't have to be there for months on end.
All right, let's move on here. Next up comes to us from Murray Reich, who writes, one of two. I did a double header yesterday. I saw The Irishman and Motherless Brooklyn. That's one I'm excited to see, is Motherless Brooklyn.
What a great double feature.
That's a great double feature. The Irishman was very good. Pacino, De Niro, Pesci were all great. Movie has lots of humor despite the violent scenes. My only issue with the movie is that it is too damn long. You can feel the runtime. 8 out of 10. Motherless Brooklyn was okay, kind of boring, but Edward Norton's performance with Tourette syndrome was great, 5 out of 10. Well, that's unfortunate to hear. I was kind of hoping to hear something better from Motherless Brooklyn, because I've been fascinated ever since. I had not even heard of this film when they gave us the presentation at CinemaCon. By the way, I just got my first invites for CinemaCon. for April again. I guess April's getting, we got to go, because last year was great.
That was great. I love that.
That was a fabulous experience last year. But looking forward to that. But listen, Rob, seriously, I feel like, again, I haven't seen Irishman yet. And listen, I always say, some movies, 3.5 hours is exactly the right length for that movie. Some movies, 90 minutes is the right length for that movie. Some movies are 100 minutes and they feel too long. Some movies are 3 hours and they feel too short. I got to admit, though, when I saw the runtime for The Irishman, it's like, are you really not capable of telling your story in a shorter period of time than that? And I've just, the first batch of reviews I always heard were all, oh, you don't even care about the runtime. But lately, the last week or so, I've been hearing from a number of people going, movie's great. It's long. You feel it. You do feel it. And that's starting to concern me a little bit, that maybe Scorsese was a little self-indulgent with it. I mean, I don't know. What are you thinking about that?
Well, it does span like 50 years of time or something. It is a sprawling historical epic. And I think, look, it requires, obviously, 3.5 hours is not, it's different from the attention span most people are used to applying toward watching a film in one shot. 3.5 hours is that's like 2 movies. So it doesn't bother me, because I like long movies. I like being immersed in a story. But if it sustains itself, but I'm seeing it this weekend. I've got my tickets. I'm seeing it on a big screen. I'm going to drain the main vein before I sit down. I'm excited. I am excited.
All right, let's move on to the next topic here. And this one comes to us from Kenneth Colton, who writes, on a side note, I am missing your Warcraft game and chats. Hope you keep doing them. I would like to keep doing them. By the way, because a little while ago I started a new character. I started a new character on the main, because I was playing Classic for a bit, and that got me going, man, I want to feel now what the changes are if I go back to playing the modern game. So I started a brand new character, and yesterday I hit level 60. Hit level 60 yesterday. The problem is I've only been able to play for like 10 minutes a day. I just have had no time. But I would love to get back and doing some more play-in chats. I do intend to do, pardon me, I'm going to try to do some play-in chats with the new Star Wars game that's coming out.
Dude, I can't wait.
What's it called? Fallen Order, I believe?
Jedi Fallen Order.
First, I'm going to play it myself just to make sure. I mean, look, I'm going to suck at it, but I'm just going to make sure I don't suck too much. And then I'll probably do some play-in chats with that. But yeah, I want to get back to doing those play-in chats, playing WoW or online poker or whatever. Let's see. Sidious Swift writes, my Disney source says that Palpatine has survived because of a strict ketchup and eggs diet. It will be canon. It's the only way to cheat death. That may be so. That may be so. But it'll turn you into an evil galactic dictator who kills puppies. So, I mean, that's what putting ketchup on your eggs will do. It'll make you somebody who kills puppies. So, you've just been warned. You shouldn't do it.
Well, at least they don't kill cats.
Well, that goes without saying. That's what the good guys do. See, the good guys do that. The bad guys kill puppies. So, that's saying that. Nathan Oswald writes, happy birthday to Emma Stone, who is 31 years old. Lamar Odom, why do we care? Turned 40. Ethan Hawke, handsome Hawke, turns 49. And Sally Field, the ever delightful Aunt May Sally Field and the Flying Nun, turns 73. That's pretty awesome. And Ethan Hawke, happy birthday to you, sir. Abe 10 Alpha writes, Jets equals just end the season. Oh my God. That team is so bad. I mean, when they beat Dallas, I'm like, oh, maybe there's. Oh no, they're just really bad. That's Nathan Oswald writes, yeah, Filoni has only done animation, but so what? It could work. Him doing a live-action Star Wars film. Brad Bird only did animation, then directed Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, which was awesome. You are missing a massive difference in the situation, though. You're conveniently leaving out a massive difference in situation. Brad Bird was doing high-profile, major motion picture animation. The one movie that Dave Filoni did is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life in Star Wars Clone Wars. That movie was utter trash. And even people who love the Clone Wars animated series, which I do not, but even people who love the Clone Wars animated series go, oh, the movie? Yeah, we don't talk about that. It was utter, complete garbage. So and listen, I loved it. I've gotten together and chatted with Dave Filoni, and I love Dave Filoni, I really do. But the fact of the matter is, this guy has not yet shown, and to be fair, not really been given the opportunity to show yet, other than the Clone Wars movie, which almost destroyed my love of Star Wars, single-handedly. Sky Guy! This guy's had one crack at a movie. He has not shown that he has any capability of telling a movie storied at all. At all. None. Zero. Zero has he shown us that he has the ability to take a 2-hour movie and tell a compelling, driven story in a 2-hour package, let alone live action. Brad Bird did. In spades, he did, with massive success. Dave Filoni has done crap when it comes to movies. Nothing. And he's done nothing when it comes to live action. You put both of those together, and I can't help but scratch my head, and people go, you know who should make the head of Star Wars storytelling? Dave Filoni, who's never made a decent movie in his life and who's never done anything live action. This is why I'm actually really excited, Rob, that he is directing episodes of Mandalorian, because not only does it give us a chance to see what he can do with live action and telling stories in that sort of a medium, but it's also giving him the opportunity to cut his teeth on something like that, which I think, if you're a Dave Filoni fan, is nothing but good news and very exciting. I wish somebody had done that with Simon Kinberg before doing an X-Men movie on his own. I wish somebody had thought to go, you know what? Maybe before we let Simon Kinberg, who has never directed a motion picture before, maybe before we let him direct X-Men Dark Phoenix, maybe we should have him go over and direct a few live action episodes of that, The Gifted, that X-Men spinoff series, The Gifted. Maybe we should have him go do that. I wish the people at Fox had done that for Simon Kinberg. The fact that Dave Filoni's doing that, I think shows very, very good wisdom on the part of Lucasfilm, and I think it shows great patience on the part of Dave Filoni, and I cannot wait to see what he does with Mandalorian, and then that opens a whole lot more doors.
Yep.
But don't compare the Brad Bird situation to the Dave Filoni situation, because to me, Rob, that is absolute night and day. I don't know. How do you see that?
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, The Incredibles is a beautifully made film, and remember, the skill set, you're still storyboarding, you're still coming up with your shots. I'm sure one of the things about Dave Filoni is he's been intimately involved with every facet of the production of The Mandalorian. He's had an insane amount, a learning curve. It's not necessarily different than animation in terms of when you're in pre-production, but when you get on a set, and you're starting to set up shots and you have actual actors walking around and moving and speaking, it's very different in animation, because in animation you can have people come in and re-record voices. You're not locked into how the camera moved or something with animation. You can change it at will. But when you're working in live action, it's a little harder. I mean, you can change it now with all the technology, but it's still a little bit more difficult. So he's received an education that goes far beyond what he did in animation on this show. And I think they're going into a second season. He's going to end up being responsible or partially responsible as a producer on 18 hours of Star Wars, which is like making 2 original trilogies.
And I think is the exact step he should take before going. That's why I've never understood people going, man, and this is years ago, Dave Filoni should be making the creative decisions. Shut up. The guy hasn't done shit, and the one movie he did was crap. So let's give him an opportunity. Let's respect him enough to give him the opportunity to develop and grow and get to the point where maybe he can do something like that, which is why I loved it when I heard that he was getting plugged in with Favreau on Mandalorian. It's great news.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, if they had done something like that with Kinberg before just handing him a major tentpole film like an X-Men film, I bet you, and I didn't hate that movie, but I bet you would have turned out even better.
Yep.
But anyway, that's just kind of my thought on that. All right. I could go off on that for a long, long time. Okay. Kevin Lewis writes, Lighthouse, Parasite, Jojo Rabbit, and more. By the beard of Burnett, I declare November to be the best month for movies in 2019. And by the way, there's still Ford v Ferrari. There's still Knives Out. There's still a couple other things. But
Frozen 2?
Frozen. Hey, listen, tickets. By the way, side note, Frozen 2, the tickets went on sale. Number one pre-sales tickets in first day in animated film history.
Did you buy them?
I did not.
I didn't either.
But
I let them go.
Beat out Toy Story's record. Again, these aren't records that are made to last, but whatever. It's just an interesting thing. What a great month it's been. And we still got more to come.
Oh, my God.
This could be the best month of the year.
And I'm looking forward to Dr. Sleep, bro.
Oh, that comes out this month? Yeah, that comes out next week. No, that comes out this week.
This week.
I already saw it last. So good. Dr. Sleep is so good. Love that movie, too. Good observation, Kevin. All right. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, the MCU has to be... Sorry, let me try that again. The MCU has been to all 10 realms in the Thor comics, somehow except Alfheim and Heaven. I hope Thor 4 will visit them. They're pretty cool places. I don't... Here's the thing. I want them to first come up with what their story is. And then if the story lends itself to that, do it. How bad movies get made is when they go, you know, it'd be cool, and they come up with a scene, and let's build a movie around a scene, or let's work around that. That's how bad filmmakers make bad films. The better filmmakers are the ones who think of what their overall narrative path is, and then if they see what fits best with that. So, I mean, if they do, cool, but they don't, I don't really think it's an important thing. Do you, Rob?
No, I agree with you there. I do. Not terribly important. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more. But hey, listen, if they did it, why not? You know, if they did it, why not? Sure. Just don't make that the premise of what it is you're trying to do.
Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like you said, for me, it's always about character and story. It's not about where they're going.
Right. Character and story.
If it fits with the great story they're trying to tell, fine. But I wouldn't say, we have to go here first. No.
All right, next up here is Sai Kata writes, hey, John, I love your show, man. Thank you so much, Sai. Been watching since the AMC days. Rob, I'm digging the beard. I'm going to a Knives Out screening this week, and I am stoked. And
wow.
I am personally very jealous. It's really close for me what I'm more looking forward to more between Ford v Ferrari, which I'm going to go see tonight, or Knives Out, which I still have not seen. But I'm going out of my mind for both of those films, dude.
Knives Out looks so good.
It does. It looks so... First, I love the premise when they announce it, like a true classic style whodunit mystery in the Agatha Christie vein. It's like, we haven't had one of those in so long.
Right.
And I'm just so stoked to see that. All right, next up, Kevin Lewis writes, over under 30%, Robert Meyer Burnett is a DVD Blu-ray of The Toxic Avenger. Oh, I'm going to say, I can't imagine a place in the multiverse that Robert Meyer Burnett does not have that. Rob, I'm going to go way over 30. I'm wrong?
You're wrong. You know, here's the thing.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I'm not,
wrong. You don't.
See, here,
I'm shocked.
No, hang on. Now, hang on. I used to own Toxic Avenger, but... it got to the point where I was buying every single exploitation, every single horror film, every single genre movie. And like Toxic Avenger is inherently a campy movie.
Sure. Not
my favorite kind of thing. So I did a purge. And I'm down to like my favorite 2,500 movies.
But, I'll take it that you at least did have it.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No, I own more than one Toxic Avenger movie, but I don't have it on Blu-ray. It did not make the jump to HD for me.
All right. Next up here, Selma McShave writes, your thoughts, Amazon Prime picking up Critical Role animated series that initially made headlines on their successful Kickstarter campaign. I don't really have a lot of thoughts. I think it's great. I'm super happy for them. That's super exciting. Other than that, I don't really have a lot of other thoughts. Do you, Rob?
Well, it's cool. I mean, look, it's just like any other distributor picking up an independent production. That it was financed by Kickstarter is very cool. But what's better, I think, what the lesson to be taken away from is that it's good. That a distributor like Amazon would come in. Was it Amazon? Did you say Amazon?
Yeah.
That Amazon's come in and picked it up. So that's a vote of confidence for the filmmakers, which is always a good thing.
Now we just need Netflix to pick up the John Campea Show. Everybody start adding Netflix. At Netflix, pick up the John Campea Show. There we go. Luke1234 writes, which is worse, Halloween Resurrection or Jason X? I got to go Halloween Resurrection, but those are truly bad movies, Rob.
Yeah, I think Halloween Resurrection just bothers you, whereas there is entertainment value to be had in Jason X.
Next up is Kevin Lewis writes.
I just said that.
Kevin Lewis writes, will Colin Farrell gain pounds for the Penguin or screw canon? Here's the question, Kevin. Which canon? There have been several incarnations of Penguin in the comic books over the years. Some share some common traits, but there's been enough diversity. Rob, it reminds me of that story when Bryan Singer was asked at Comic-Con so many years ago about Superman Returns, and somebody asked him at Comic-Con, why did you change the Superman costume? To which he replied, changed from what? There have literally been, up until that point, 23 iterations of the Superman costume in the comics. So when you say, why did you change the costume? Change it from what? Rob, we have seen Penguin in the Batman comics from being very Burgess Meredith-like.
Right.
I think, to being just an underground arms dealer. Though I love the way he was portrayed in No Man's Land, the story No Man's Land in the Batman comics. We have seen him portrayed in many different ways.
Danny DeVito is sort of like a mutant.
Yeah, so there is that way of doing him. Then you've got the Penguin that we had in Gotham. And then even in the comics themselves, he's been portrayed differently in different ways in different eras. So you can do whatever. So when you say screw canon, there is no canon. There's no truly definitive canon. By the way, the Batman story itself has been rebooted and restarted several times. So I don't know. How would you respond to that,
Well,
Rob?
I agree with you there too. I mean, what if the Penguin gets his nickname because he's a dandy and he's always wearing these bespoke suits, these black and white suits, and somebody hangs that nickname on him as opposed to being a Penguin-like person. And I think that this movie is going to redefine. Every time you see a movie, it sort of redefines the canon. Certainly, Nolan's Batman redefined Batman. I mean, you've got your basic framework to work within, but then you, as a filmmaker or as a storyteller, can play around within that basic framework and tell the story that you want to tell. And really, I think it's always very interesting to see how these characters are reinterpreted by different creators. That's what makes it sort of fun. And having a Colin Farrell, look at the thumbnail for this very talk that you're listening to now. How cool does that guy look? I mean, I know it's the Gotham. Look at that. I mean,
I love what Ray did with Colin Farrell there for Penguin.
I don't even
looks
know.
Like an underground arms dealer gangster right there.
I mean, don't you want to see that Penguin? I mean, maybe someone uses Penguin as a derogatory term that nobody lets him know. He's not supposed to hear that, but everybody else whispers about him. I mean, it could be cool. I'm excited. To me, it's all about the characters and the story.
All right. Next up here, Ivan Gonzalez just sends in a message saying, "Keep it up." Thank you, Ivan. Appreciate that,
That's
brother.
pretty cool.
That is cool. I like that. Thank you. Humanity Never Learns writes, reason for big budget bad movies equals money laundering. Well, I mean, there have been films in the past, The Room, for example, where there have always been whispers and allegations about it just being a money laundering thing. And
look, I want to go full Ozark. I am perfectly willing to make a movie with money that needs to be washed. I've looked into that before. I am perfectly willing to do it. Give me a call, please. I just want to make movies, and if you want to launder your cash, movie making is a cash business. I'm willing to help.
All right, next up, Matsuv Jada writes, there are money benefits. Are there financial benefits to making a longer movie? No. Look, except this. If your movie needs to be a little bit longer for it to reach its full potential, the better your movie, the more money it will make. That doesn't guarantee your movie will make money. But if your movie was going to make $4, now it might make $5. So the only potential advantage is if making your particular movie a little bit longer makes your movie better, and that quite obviously is not always the case, but if that is the case, there could be some financial benefit to that. But other than that, no. It's actually a little bit of more of a detriment because, fewer screening times, all that kind of stuff. Rob, can you think of any financial advantage to making the movie longer?
Well, if you need to launder more money, it'll take longer to shoot. No, I mean, like you said, I think the length of a movie, it's all about what makes the movie the best movie it can be. Because at the end of the day, you're hoping that the better a movie is, the more people will watch it. And, again, I think that's really what you're after, is to make the best movie possible, to make the most money. And like I said, if the movie's better and makes more money at the box office, it's easier to hide money in the back end as well.
All right, Kevin Lewis writes, Between Two Ferns is how you do it, funny and only 90 minutes. Well, that was a perfect look. I didn't think Between Two Ferns was great, but there are moments in that movie that I nearly died laughing, particularly the post-credits. The post-credits stuff in Between Two Ferns.
Yeah.
But you're right. But that's a movie where a nice, tight 80 minutes was perfect. For some other movies, that would have been too short. A lot of movies that would have been too short, but for this particular movie, it was the absolute perfect runtime. Willow Yang writes, favorite fake trailer from Tropic Thunder?
Ooh, I don't remember them all.
Well, there's Booty Sweat.
Yeah.
There was the Gay Monks one. Oh, that had Tobey Maguire in it with them. Then there was the Cranks kind of spin-off one with the Jack Black one.
Yeah.
I got to go with the one with the monks with Robert Downey Jr. and I think it was Tobey Maguire. I think it was Tobey Maguire, right? Or was it Hobbit Boy?
Elijah Wood.
Or was it Elijah Wood?
Yeah, I don't remember.
It was one of the two. It was either Elijah Wood or it was Tobey Maguire. Anyway, I think that one was my favorite. But Booty Sweat might be a close second. Booty Sweat was another really. Do you have a favorite one out of those?
I just don't. I'm trying to picture them all, and I keep thinking about the fake trailers from, Don't. What was that in? Was that in Grindhouse?
Oh, the Grindhouse fake trailers.
Grindhouse fake trailers, which are polluting my memory.
Those ones are good. That's how Machete got started.
Yeah.
There was a fake trailer in Grindhouse. All right, next up, Nathan Oswald writes, I really wanted to see a sequel to Terminator Salvation. It is the most different in the entire franchise, having no time travel, setting in the apocalyptic war, and John Connor as a resistance badass. It's interesting you mentioned that, Nathan, because
I said that to you yesterday.
Yeah, there was a conversation that you and I had about yesterday. But I think that's a great example, because I 100% agree. It is the most different of all the Terminator movies. It absolutely is. Different is not inherently good. Different can be great, but it is in and of itself not inherently good. Like if I go down to my kitchen right now and I get half a cup of mayonnaise and I put it in with some turkey, and then I throw some oranges in it, and then add a half pound of Tabasco sauce and then a little bit of haggis and mix it up in a blender, that's different.
I'm never coming to your house for dinner.
But that would be different. Different is not inherently good. And so I 100% agree with you, Nathan. It was a very, very different for the Terminator franchise. It was a very different film. I just didn't think it was a good film, that's all. But I don't know. What did you think about it?
Well, look, as you know, I told you yesterday, I'm a Terminator Salvation fan.
Yeah, you're a supporter of it.
Now, is it the greatest movie in the world? No, but what I did like was it was different. When I approached that movie, I'm like, this is an interesting science fiction film, an interesting take when Sam Worthington finds out that he is, spoiler alert, a Terminator. I liked that whole idea. Was McGee the greatest guy to direct it? Maybe not. But I really appreciated them trying to do something different with the mythology and take it somewhere else. It wasn't retelling the same story of, a young future resistance leader's life is threatened, so a Terminator comes back in time to eliminate them before they're able to defeat Legion? Is that what it's called? Legion?
Well, that's the new, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Terminator Salvation.
Maybe the Terminator Salvation will be the salvation of the entire franchise, looking back from historical perspective.
All I can say is, good for you! Good for you!
Hey, there's a lot of great hot toys that came out of Terminator Salvation.
Of that, John. I have no doubt. All right, Coach, that is the one that good for you came out of, right? Yeah. Toonie2 writes, over under 5%. Joker has a bigger worldwide box office total as Star Wars 9 at the end of its run. 5%? I'll take over 5, because that's basically nothing. It's almost zero. So I'll take 5. I'll take 5. Yeah.
You know what? I got a hot take, John. I think Rise of Skywalker, and everyone knows I hate J.J. Abrams as a science fiction feature filmmaker. I think Rise of Skywalker is going to be good. I think it's going to be good.
But do you think it'll make over $1 billion?
Yes.
Do you think 95% chance it makes over $1 billion?
Yes.
All right, so you're going to take... You'll
I'm
take
going
under
over,
5%.
man.
Sorry, you'll take the under.
Hope springs eternal. I mean, I might dislike J.J. Abrams science fiction movies, but I'm going to say I think Rise of Skywalker, people are going to, even the haters are going to walk out going, huh, that's pretty good.
You say under 5% that Joker has a bigger worldwide box office total than Star Wars Episode 9.
Yes, under 5%.
I just think 5% is way too low of a number. So I'll take that action, even though I do believe... Right now, in a vacuum, having not seen the film, I believe Star Wars Rise of Skywalker is going to make in the 1.5, 1.4, 1.5 range.
That's what I think. I think it's going to make 1.5.
But again, 5% is such a low number, I'll have to take that action. I'll take that action. All right. TunyTube also writes, 20 years ago, I always thought there are 20 Django movies from the 70s. Then I read about, and there were only 2. The German marketing guys renamed a lot of the 70s Italian Westerns and put Django in the title. I didn't know that.
That's true.
Really?
Yeah, and you can get the 2 real Django movies with Franco Nero. In like, there's, I
knew there was only a couple of them, but I didn't realize there was all that. They just put Django in the title.
Well, it's like, it's like what they did with the Lucio Fulci's movie Zombie. That was a sequel to Dawn of the Dead. It wasn't really a sequel to Dawn of the Dead. They just called it Zombie 2. Because Dawn of the Dead was named Zombie, but the Italians like, nah, it's not a real sequel, but let's just call it Zombie 2.
Fair enough.
Because we can.
Kevin Lewis writes, I want new Doc Savage movie. Sony has the rights. Dwayne The Rock Johnson announced a couple years ago that he was going to be Doc Savage.
I know, he'd be a great Doc Savage.
But nothing's really come of it ever since.
I don't know if he could outdo Ron Eli's masterful performance in the George Powell-produced Doc Savage Man of Bronze, but who knows?
Let's see what happens with that one. John Durig writes, will Disney Plus have a smart TV app or phone app? Right now, I can only access it from my computer, and I haven't seen any ads about getting it another way. I think what you can do right now is you can sign up for it on your computer. And then when the app becomes available for downloading and installing, you just put in your credentials that you already signed up with on the computer. So, it'll have a phone app. They're going to put it everywhere you can possibly see it. Because even Ann was saying, where's the Disney Plus app for the Roku? It's like, I don't think it's available yet. We can sign up for it now, but then when it's getting closer, we can download the app, put it on, and away we go. Unless you've heard anything different, Rob.
I don't know. I mean, I was talking with Elizabeth about that yesterday. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I want to be, even though we're 6 days away or whatever, I'm like, I got to get ready for The Mandalorian now. Where do I download the app?
All right. Holland Love writes, number 1, what the hell is a YouTube super sticker? I actually have no idea.
Is that what you got in that super chat with the, it looked like we just had it, the dancing creature?
Oh, is it? I don't know. I have no
know
idea.
What YouTube
I don't know. I'll have to go look it up myself now, Holland. Number 2, Matt Reeves' Batman keeps adding more and more talent. Don't you hate when that? Yeah, I just hate it when they keep adding talent, right? Isn't that awful when they just keep adding more and more talent? How unfair for all the other movies trying to get made at that time.
Those terrible people.
Oh my God!
They don't want you to see a good movie.
Hey, listen, I am still unapologetically. If I could snap my fingers and erase Matt Reeves' Batman movie from existence, and that means and recreate the universe that Ben Affleck is still doing his standalone Batman movie, I would do it. But we're not getting that. And if I can't have that Ben Affleck standalone Batman movie, this is a nice replacement. I'm getting more and more. I was always on board because Matt Reeves is a really good director. Didn't like War of the Planet of the Apes, I'll be honest with you, but I'm getting more and more on board with this dude. Like, I'm just so stoked with the philosophy they seem to have. Let's see. Vivek writes, thoughts on Jeff Daniels' Newsroom. In my opinion, I loved it. Loved Newsroom.
I did too.
And as a matter of fact, it is. Not many people knew this. That show is proof that alien life exists. Because sometime before they made that show, aliens abducted the absolutely talentless Olivia Munn and then replaced her with an alien body double that had been genetically created to have lots of acting talent. Because I will tell you what, Olivia Munn is real good in that show. Not just pretty good for Olivia Munn, I mean really good. And she sucks in everything else.
Don't mince words, John.
I'm
What
not
do you
gonna mince
really
words.
think?
She absolutely sucks in everything else. But holy crap. She's not, again, it's not just good for Olivia Munn, like not bad for somebody who's not a good actor. No, she is fantastic in that show. That made me go, wait a minute. If you've got that talent somewhere hidden in there, where has it been with all the other crappy, junky performances you've given and everything else? Like, and so I completely believe she's an alien body double in Newsroom. By the way,
You might be right about that.
one of the greatest openings to a television show ever. First scene, episode 1. I don't know if you've seen it, Rob, but first scene,
Oh
episode
yeah,
1.
is that when he talks about why America's not the
It's
greatest
not the greatest country in the
world?
world. As it's a fabulous speech.
It's one of my favorite YouTube clips. I've
And it-
watched it 100 times.
And it completely sets the tone for the entire show. I love that show, dude. I absolutely love that show. All right, anyway, where are we at? Sorry, Patrick Conway writes, as an Irishman, this is the best Batman news. Yes. I mean, well, yeah, you've got Colin Farrell going in there. Is Andy Serkis isn't Irish, is he?
He's British.
He's British. Okay, so there you got a little bit of UK representation in there. Marv Diesel writes, haven't heard this theory yet for Star Wars Episode 9. Over under 20%. The dark Rey we saw in the Sizzler trailer is the real Rey, and the Rey we know is a clone. Oh, I've heard that many times. That's a possibility. It's also strongly a possibility that they're both clones.
Yeah.
There's also, I mean, this is one of the issues that me and Christian talked about on the show yesterday was there's also a strong possibility it's just a dark vision, a nightmare sort of thing, kind of like Luke going down into the cave and seeing the Vader thing, cutting its head off and his own face appears. Could be a little bit like that. A lot of possibilities, Marv Diesel, but that's definitely one of the ones that we've seen batted around. All right, Ian Shank writes, what Disney ride do you want to become a movie? None. None Disney rides to become a movie. I think it's the stupidest thing in the world.
Come on, dude. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Is that even still there?
I don't know, but I loved it.
I've never even seen it.
Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. That's what I want. And, it'd be like a stoner comedy.
Now, to be fair, when they were making the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, I remember being, what type of idiot is making a movie based on a theme park ride? And then I loved Pirates of the Caribbean. All the other ones have been crap after that, but I mean, I did, so, give the credit where it's due.
I'm still waiting. They got to put Voyage Through Inner Space back in Disneyland. That was my favorite Disneyland ride when I was a kid. I loved it.
That was before my time, so I never saw
good.
it. Let's see. JMeister25 writes, my friends, you bow to no one. Still one of the greatest moments. Then he kneels, and then all of Gondor kneels in front of these little hobbits. It's one of the greatest moments ever. TNS93 writes, I'm in a bad position with Disney Plus. Can't get it to next month, so I know half of the series is going to be spoiled for me. Yeah, that sucks. I look, there may be other ways you can find it. Look, I'm not going to encourage piracy. I'm not encouraging piracy.
Terrible. I'm so anti-piracy, as we know. Talked about our late friend John Schnepp. He had a lot of choice words. But if they're not going to make it available to the rest of the world, what are you supposed to do? It's Star Wars, man.
I mean, look, I'm just going to say, while I do not encourage or endorse piracy in any way, there has to be a level of sympathy for the notion of, hey, look, I am a willing customer. I want to give them money in exchange for a service. I want to give them money. They are simply giving me no avenue to give them my money to provide me with a service. And I, as a future customer, am going to be hurt in my viewing experience because you're showing it to so much everybody else in the world, and it's going to all be spoiled for me by the time I see it. So while I still do not encourage nor endorse nor justify piracy, all I can say is, I'm going to have a lot of understanding for anybody who are in those countries that don't have the ability to get it. I'm just saying I have a lot of understanding for people who might do that with Mandalorian because there's actual consequences if you don't. So I don't know. Intricate, complex question. All right, TNS95 writes, Black Lightning this season has a milestone comics feel to it this year. More interested in the show than other DC CW shows. I have only watched up till episode 2 of Black Lightning this year, and I'm digging it. But I've only seen up to episode 2, so I do got to get caught up. D308X writes, Stephen Amell is killing it this season with his acting. He proved last episode, and Laurel this season is what we should have had from the beginning. Nah. Now, but Stephen Amell is great. I haven't seen last night's episode. I just left it off where they doubled down on Oliver and his idiot kids.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I'll
and they
watch.
did too.
They doubled down. Again,
Yeah.
I didn't see last night's episode, but I saw last week's episode, and they just doubled down on Oliver and his idiot kids. I loved Oliver. I hate his idiot kids. What the F are you wasting time on his idiot kids for? It's just so dumb. Especially, what makes it extra dumb is the fact that this season of Arrow, aside from the idiot kids, is one of the best seasons I've enjoyed more in years. In years. And Oliver, I mean, Steven is literally really hitting his stride, really well playing the role. He's better now than he's ever been. And then they crap all over it by putting these stupid flash forwards with his idiot kids that I don't care about. Anyway, there's that. Okay, Jared Oberfeld writes, Part 1, double feature in the living room last night of Shazam and Home Alone. Nice. With the home theater almost complete, I wonder what I should watch Part 2 when it's done. Aaron, I think Buzz's Spiders. I think Buzz's Spiders in your hair, and I spotted you at the theater in Disaster Artist. Yeah, she was. Yeah, feel free. Aaron was in the Disaster Artist. Keep the change, you filthy animals. A little Home Alone reference. By the way, still to this day, not enough credit is given to Shazam. I love that movie. It's such a well-made movie. So fun.
Listen, I got to answer this guy's question, which is, what should he play in his home theater next?
Yes.
Okay, I got one. If your home theater is calibrated and set up, you got to rock Gladiator, because that will Gladiator.
Even if it's not calibrated,
the Battle
properly,
of Germania in full surround sound. You got to get that. You got to watch Gladiator and get the new 4K disc of Apocalypse Now. Get Apocalypse Now Final Cut. And go for Gladiator and Apocalypse Now. That's my double bill recommendation for you.
Okay, now I got a stump in my brain. It's going to kill me until I know the answer. In that opening Battle of Germania, when the general comes walking, not the general, but the commander comes walking up to Commodus, says, people should know when
Quintus.
they're... Quintus! Thank you!
It's Quintus.
Would you, Quintus?
Would I?
Dude,
I love that.
People should know when they're conquered. Would you, Quintus? Should I?
By the way, can I just ask, Big Chief Studios in the UK was making a 6-scale figure of the Spaniard.
Oh, nice.
Where is it? It was supposed to be out. Where is it? Why don't I own it, John? Oh, did I order it? I've owned like 4 bootleg figures of Gladiator, and I need that figure.
I need that Gladiator stuff in my life. All right. Where are we at here? We are at My Kid Banana writes, you guys, Joe Rogan has Rick Barker on his show today.
No, he said Barker. It is Rick Baker.
Should be Rick Baker. That's why I said Baker at first. On his show today, it's a freaking awesome interview. So much monster wonderfulness. You got to watch it.
I loved it. And for anybody who's
you did see it?
Yeah, I watched it yesterday. And for anybody who's a Rick Baker fan, he has a new 2-volume hardcover book. It's $250, encompassing his entire career. So if you love monsters, got to get that book. That was a great episode. Really heartfelt. Very different episode of Joe Rogan, but really great.
All right, next up. Robert Zaleski writes, heading home from my first trip to San Diego. I love San Diego. Ann and I, other than Comic-Con, Ann and I, like once or twice a year, we'll just run down there for a weekend. We'll rent an Airbnb and just go down there for the weekend. Incredible area. Only good news. Local theater finally got Jojo Rabbit taking my son tomorrow. That is awesome. And listen, again, you know, it breaks my heart, Rob, every year when I got to talk about how Comic-Con needs to move out of San Diego. It breaks my heart because I love that town.
I do too, and
the
that is Comic-Con.
The gas lamp downtown thing. The problem, though, is, Rob, every year it's so obvious that convention center, number one, is far too small for Comic-Con. Number 2, the town is far too small. Number 3, there are not enough hotels. So you got to enter into an idiotic lottery and maybe you'll get lucky and get a hotel room. Number 4, the public transportation doing it is a nightmare. Getting around in San Diego during Comic-Con is a nightmare, particularly if you're not one of the lucky ones to win the lottery and get a close hotel. The number 4, there's not enough restaurants. The Gaslamp District is fantastic, lots of eateries, but you go out during Comic-Con on the Friday or Saturday around anywhere between noon and 2 p.m. and you try to go into a restaurant to get something to eat, you're either waiting for 45 minutes to an hour and a half for a table, or you just got to give up on it and maybe grab a street dog.
It's true.
I mean, it's just doesn't have the right infrastructure. By comparison, look at Las Vegas. CES happens in Las Vegas every year, which is literally double the size of Comic-Con. It's literally double the size of Comic-Con. So when I go to CES, anybody got any hotel rooms? Yeah, 1,000 in every hotel. Where do you want to stay? The public the cab system there, flawless. Restaurants, you can throw a quarter and you'll hit 15 different restaurants, always a place to eat. Because there's plenty of hotels, you don't have to pay $1,000 a night for a hotel room. The convention center is literally triple the size of the San Diego Convention Center.
I just can't believe I'm on a show with you and you were advocating moving Comic-Con to Las Vegas, John.
Only because...
How can you do that?
Because it doesn't work anymore.
Well,
it doesn't work anymore. I still love going and I love San Diego, but it just... doesn't work. Sorry, I'm taking up all this time. We got questions we need to get through. What the hell am I doing here?
I was going to cry, too.
All right. Robert Zaleski also writes, also wanted to say, if it wasn't for you, I likely never would have heard of Booksmart. Watch it on my flight, and it's now one of my favorite movies. Well, I love it, Robert, when I get to hear from somebody that, hey, I saw this movie because of you. That does my heart good. I feel like the Lord's work has been done. And yeah, Booksmart is right now my number 3 favorite movie of the year. Might get bumped down a little bit more once I see Ford v Ferrari, Knives Out. Who knows? Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I'm looking forward to those. Quinn Allfather 69 writes, I didn't care much for season 1, but Titan season 2 is incredible. If they got rid of the F-bombs, it would be perfect. I will never know, because I have no intention of what I watched, against my better judgment, I watched all of Titan season 1, and I thought it was a waste of my time. Not the worst show I've ever seen.
No.
It's just a waste of my time. And because of that, I wasn't even going to bother with Doom Patrol. And then everybody's like, John, you got to watch Doom Patrol. Fine, watch Doom Patrol. Love it. Love it. But I'm not, there's too much other good television on right now. Then I'm not going to go and watch something that I already gave a shot. So, have you gotten into season 2 at all?
No, I watched season 1, and
it?
I love the Titans. It's one of my favorite. They're one of my favorite superhero teams.
Love Titans.
I love Titans, and I'll get around to season 2. But it's like, yes, having the Titans swear, I'm like, okay. I mean, I'm no goody two shoes, as anyone knows, but it's just weird having the Titans swearing and things like that.
All right. Next up, Householder Films. Right, biggest movie disappointment. Honestly, it was this, because it's a movie that I literally thought would be a contender for best film of the year, and it ended up being one of the worst, maybe top 30 worst films I've ever seen, which was Gangster Squad. That was a movie that I was dying for, and I thought this has got Best Picture nominee written all over it, and was honestly one of maybe the 30 worst films I'd ever seen. Rob, what about you?
The biggest disappointment of my entire life, as you know, I've said it before, is Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi,
best Star Wars movie ever made.
I saw Empire Strikes Back 26 times in the theater. I was very disappointed by Return of the Jedi.
Best Star Wars movie ever made. But hey, that's the subjectivity of film. All right, the Bearded One writes, this is starting to feel like the Arkham games with all these characters. Not that I'm complaining. I've always wanted to see a Batman movie like that. Here's the thing, Rob. When it comes to, I'm just gonna go over to IMDb right now. Okay, I'm gonna go over to IMDb. I'm gonna pull up a random movie. Let's see here.
Just a random movie?
I'm just going to see what's on the front page here right now, but what's coming soon. Okay, what's coming soon here? Okay, I'm just going to... Where the hell are the movie lists? Okay, let me find the box office list. All right. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil. There, I'll click on that one.
Okay.
We've got Maleficent, Aurora, Prince Philip, Queen Ingrid, Dilival, who is a great character in this movie, actually. Chiwetel Ejiofor for Conall. We got Ed Skrein as Bora. John Lindsay was King John. David Guy-C was Percival. Jean Murray was Gerda. Look, the point is, every movie, unless you're Lighthouse, almost every movie has multiple characters. It's just that when you get into a comic book movie, you recognize the names of all the characters, and away you go. Whereas if instead you go over to a movie like, I don't know, where's one I can pull up? Okay, let's go over to, let's even click on, I don't know, Terminator Dark Fate. Let me click on Terminator Dark Fate here. And it's not bringing, why is it not bringing it up? At any rate, there's another great example, The Help. The Help. You got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 significant characters in the movie. But we don't know who those characters are. We never heard of them, so it doesn't feel like that. What do we got here? We got Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright. We've got Colin Farrell. If it works out, Colin Farrell. We got Andy Serkis. Oh, okay. But you know the names of the characters, so it feels like that. So I'm not worried about that.
Maybe Matt Reeves' Batman is actually a remake of the Adam West, Burt Ward Batman 66 feature film that had Penguin,
yep,
Riddler, Catwoman, and they're going to announce, the big announcement is, of course, Joaquin Phoenix comes back to play Joker. And they have a submarine, and they all team up.
You know there are people watching this show who actually think that's going to happen. You know there are people watching.
I just made that up right now.
But you know there are people who think that's actually going to happen. So I wouldn't worry about it, Bearded One. I honestly wouldn't worry about that at this point. I mean, it could end up being like that, but I wouldn't worry about that on its surface. Orange Hand writes, my issue with Jack Black in Jumanji is his behavior so over the top, while the girl is more subdued, doesn't feel like the same person. Nitpicking? I'll tell you why I disagree, Orange Hand. Here's why I disagree. Because number one, and less important, is that I don't think the amount of her personality versus the personality Jack Black projected of her is actually all that different. There is a little bit of a difference, yes, but not all that big of a difference. But the second and most important is, of course her reactions would become a lot more heightened if she suddenly found herself in the body of a middle-aged man. So it would, even if it was really her, I think that would heighten it, and I thought it was great. So, but hey, it struck you that. What did you think about that, Rob?
Well, it's also, if you want to look at it even further, it is you are inside a game. So maybe the reactions, the way the person, I don't know what the actual, I can't explain what happens in that movie, but once you've been injected into the Jumanji game, then maybe your reactions are slightly different than they would be in real life. So I buy it. I buy into it.
I like your answer. All right, next up, Mickey Altieri writes, Warner Brothers is bringing in the writer of 7 out of the 8 Harry Potter films, Steve Kloves, for Fantastic Beasts 3. I think this is another move in the right direction, even though I'm not big on how he adapted the books. I think a lot of people are. I am big on it. And Rob, listen, it's been said, one of the mistakes, and I like the Fantastic Beasts movie. I do. Both of them. But one of the mistakes is, and I think one of the reasons you saw a change in, at best, tone, at worst, quality, is the fact that J.K. decided to write the script herself. And she's not a screenplay writer.
Right.
And there is a fundamental difference between writing novels and writing a screenplay. And I think you felt that difference. And I think that's a really good move to bring in a screenwriter again. What do you think about that?
I agree. And Steve Kloves is a great writer. I think... Didn't he direct, or he wrote The Fabulous Baker Boys? Steve Kloves? I think he might have. I don't know. If memory serves, he's a really good screenwriter. So I would love to, I mean, anytime, it's like you said, it's all about
That's
writing.
That's the one with
the Bridges Brothers.
Bridges Brothers, right.
Yeah, and Michelle Pfeiffer. Oh.
That's right.
But I think that...
Sprawled out on that piano.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. Because, look, for me, it's always about, again, great stories and great characters. You need great writing for both.
Yeah, to bring it to life. Like, J.K. made those characters and made the story. Now you need an actual gifted screenwriter who knows how to properly translate that into a different medium. And I think that's probably a pretty good move. All right, next one up is Tucky421. Sends in a really large super chat. Thank you so much for that, Tucky. And Tucky writes in, Hey, John. With John Williams' last work with Star Wars being The Rise of Skywalker, who do you think is the likely successor to continuing making Star Wars scores for future projects? Love the show. Keep up the good work. Well, Tucky, first of all, this is likely the final outing for John Williams on Star Wars, because he's slowing down. He's got to retire. Like, again, Ann and I go see John Williams at the Hollywood Bowl concert every single year. It's the John Williams maestro of the movies. 4 years ago, he did the entire show.
Yeah. That's when I saw it last.
Then about 3 years ago, he let David Newman come out and direct the first half of the first part of the concert, so the first quarter, and then John Williams did the rest. Because John Williams was Dave Newman's father's protege. He was a protege under Alfred Newman. And Dave Newman kind of protéged under John Williams. And now Dave Newman is kind of like the main conductor for the LA orchestra. Then about 2 years ago, Dave Newman did the entire first half before the intermission. He did the entire first half before the intermission. And then John Williams came out in the second half to do the second half. Last year, Newman did the first half and another song or two of the second half. And then this year, John Williams only came out to do the last quarter. He did about 4 or 5 pieces at the end. He's just, what is he? He's getting close to 90.
Yeah, he's pushing it.
He can't be out there on stage for an hour and a half and 2 hours. So he is slowing down. As far as who's the next person to take over, it's very much to me, Rob, just like the question of which X director should direct X movie. There's a lot of very, very talented composers out there in Hollywood. Some names you know very well, like a Zemeckis or whatever, a Giacchino or whatever, and some you don't. The reality is, though, there's not going to be the next John Williams.
Right.
As in most movies, the director of the movie will pick who they want to be the conductor of the movie. That's what happens. The director decides what conductor they want, what composer they want. So you're not going to see one person being the composer for all the Star Wars movies now. It's going to be a mixture depending on who the director of the individual projects are. How do you see that, Rob?
Well, no, I agree with you. Look, I don't know the name. I keep forgetting the composer for Mandalorian, but by all accounts, he's killed it. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we get in the future. But, you know, there's so many talented composers out there. I love Rachel Portman, like Giacchino is great. But there's, who knows? And maybe there's a new composer who's coming up that we haven't even heard yet that could be tapped for the future. I mean, the one thing about John Williams is he comes from an old school where he would handwrite his scores.
Yep.
Like he understood music, and a lot of musicians these days are composing on the fly. They're not writing their music down first. And it's a different world now. And I don't know if we'll ever see the likes of a John Williams again working in film music.
All right, next up, we've got Chris Warden writes, I really enjoyed Zombieland 2, but that mid-credit scene put it over the top for me to make it my best comedy of 2019. Hashtag Flabby Tabby. I'll tell you what, I like Zombieland 2. I did. I liked it more than the first Zombieland. I thought the mid-credit scene was stupid. I thought it started great, like as a quick little thing, but it should have ended after about 30 seconds, because then it just got stupid to me, and I felt I should just leave. You know, at that point, did you get a chance to see
Zombieland 2 yet? I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
I will buy it.
I just thought it got stupid after the first, like, the initial idea of it, and I won't give it away, but the initial idea of it is like, that's funny. Oh, you're still going? Oh, you're keeping it going? Okay, we got it. We got the joke. Okay, you're still going? I don't know. But that was just me. All right, let's see. Sondrol Productions writes, hey, John, what did you think of the fights on Saturday? Thought they were great. Obviously, very disappointing how it ended, that it had to end on a cut. But a lot of those fights were just top-notch, great fights, from beautiful, iconic head kick knockouts to just some terrific fights. It was a really, really good card. Again, unfortunately, it had to end with a cut. Stubble McShave writes, thoughts on using James Dean's likeness in Finding Jack? I got to read more into it about what the exact plan is. I only saw the headline.
Yeah, I read that this morning too. Look, I hate that. I think we're going to have to. One of the things in our digital era is we're going to have to figure out what is the reality of this? Do people own their own likenesses? Do actors own their own likenesses? Can their estates own their own likenesses? I hate the idea that you recreate somebody who's dead.
Now, here's your question, because I didn't read the story.
Yeah, I just saw.
Is this supposed to be James Dean? Like, is the character in the movie James Dean the character?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's an interesting question, and we'll get into this later. I don't want to get into too much right now because we need to move on. But what's the difference between that and getting an actor to play James Dean and doing your best with makeup and costuming and everything to make them look as much like James Dean as possible? Where's the line? Again, I feel uncomfortable with it, but that is the question we got to ask. Like, it's like, if we're okay with having an actor play that person and doing everything you can cosmetically to make them look as much like that person as possible, at what point is that totally cool and then becoming totally creepy using digital techniques to make them look as much like James Dean as possible? I don't know. It's an interesting question.
I think it's going to be one of the most fundamental questions that we're going to deal with over the next 25, 50 years in the digital frontier. What do we want as people?
Yeah, and there's an ethical question.
It is, absolutely. It's on so many different levels, but we as human beings, when we make movies, are we suddenly going to be okay with artificial people that are being passed off as real people? I mean, I like the idea of actors. I like the idea of human beings inhabiting a role.
Well, what about a human being doing it? They just digitally do the thing to their face.
See, that's another thing. I don't know yet.
Neither do I.
I don't know. That's makeup.
All right, we need to move on here. Mike Thompson writes, it's happened. They are going to finally digitally resurrect James Dean for a full movie, Finding Jack. I'm concerned about the ethics of this. Again, we just kind of touched on that a little bit. Again, where do we draw the line, though? Now, here's where I know I'm 100% against. Making a movie, let's say James Dean, but the character in the movie isn't James Dean. We're just pretending that James Dean is playing the role. Like that, I don't even have to have a discussion. I already know I'm 100% against it. But if you get a movie where somebody's playing Richard Nixon, and it is Richard Nixon in the movie, that's who the character is, it's Richard Nixon, and you digitally make somebody look like Richard Nixon a lot, as opposed to using cosmetic makeup to make them look like Richard Nixon, that's where I don't know how I feel about it.
But you're still going to say an actor is portraying Richard Nixon. What I'm curious about is, are they saying this is, in fact, James Dean playing this role? Or are they just making an actor look like James Dean?
That's why I got to read up on this more. Yeah. I got to read up on more to really have more of an idea of it. Luca A. writes, I joined when you said Pearl Harbor has some upsides. And I was like, I hope he's talking about the movie. Oh, I hope he's talking about the movie. Yes. Yeah, I can't off the top of my head think of any positives to the actual events of Pearl Harbor, obviously. But yes, I was talking about the movie. That would be a funny part to
come in. Well, it did get the United States involved in World War II. And we might all be... the man in the high castle might be true if we didn't get involved.
There you go. That's a good observation. All right. Okay. Quinn Fowley writes, if it's not out of line to ask, where have Chris and Aaron been the last few days? I announced at the beginning of this week that the schedule this week was Monday through Wednesday, me and Rob. Thursday is going to be Chris and Aaron. Friday is going to be Aaron and Rob. So that's the schedule for this week. And I did announce that earlier. Adam Paul Stone writes, a fan since the AMC days. Thank you so much, Adam. I just finished production on the show I sold to Netflix.
Wow, congratulations, man.
Dude. Thank you for keeping me informed in the business. Love you, dude. Dude, that is no small feat. I still remember when I was still over at, I was still working with the stream, and as a company, we had sold one of the stream shows to Netflix. That was a big deal. That was a really, really big deal. So, dude, the fact that you did that as well, that is awesome. You got to be involved in that. That's huge. Congratulations. Don't let anybody underplay that. All right. Dan Hensley writes, one of two. Bat casting is perfect. Farrell has the accent from the Arkham games, Penguin 2, so sweet. And, you know, any good actor would be able to pass off a good accent anyway, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt when you actually got the guy in there, Dan, and I love the casting too, dude. Stubble McShave writes, Michael McElhatton Rose Bolton, cast as Tam Althor in Wheel of Time. Tam is a retired blade master and father of one of the main characters. I'm not well enough invested in to understand.
Stubble McShave is the biggest fan of the upcoming Wheel of Time series that's adapted from Robert Jordan's books.
Wow, it's out now. It's not just upcoming.
Oh, it's out?
Oh, so, I'm thinking of.
You're thinking of his Dark
Materials. I'm thinking of his Dark
Wheel
Materials.
of Time is different, and Stubble McShave is the world's biggest cheerleader of this. I hope the show is good because I don't know what he's going to do if it's not.
All right. Shane. Sorry, I had a little bit of a jump here. Where am I at? I am there. Shane Roxas writes, "Hey guys, are either of you fans of Mr. Sunday Movies?" I've spoken to Mr. Sunday Movies. The Weekly Planet. I always thought a civil debate about Man of Steel between you two, Mr. Sunday, and his partner Nick Manson would be incredible. There's no point in it. There's no point. I know that Man of Steel is one of the greatest comic book movies. It is the most underrated comic book movie of all time. I've heard all the arguments that people make to try to make it sound contrary. So nothing is going to change my position. People who dislike that movie, for whatever their reasons, have heard all the arguments about why they maybe should like it better, and they still hold their position. So there's really no point in a debate on that issue at this point. Everybody on the planet already has their minds made up about what they think about Man of Steel. A debate on this point would be no help to anybody.
I just want to point out, I am also a Man of Steel lover, and whenever I hear people who are detractors of it, they're not actually reviewing Man of Steel. They're talking about stuff that isn't in the movie, and they're talking about the way the character has been portrayed elsewhere, but very few times have I heard anyone who doesn't like Man of Steel actually deal with what's on screen in the movie. And it drives me crazy having those debates.
And again, this is not poo-pooing anybody who doesn't like it. All film is subjective. I'm just saying there's no point in a debate because no one's going to change their mind at this point. The movie's, how old is Man of Steel now?
2013?
So it's 6 years old, maybe 2012.
2012.
But anyway, so there's no point in the debate. But yeah, Mr. Sunday, they do some really really cool stuff over there. Absolutely. All right. Let's see. Sunila Shetty writes, "People saying Penguin should be fat and short. They should remember that he wasn't always fat in comics. I mean, Gotham's Penguin worked out. I don't mind. And again, yeah, we covered that a little bit earlier. Many different iterations, even in the comics themselves, about how Penguin has been certain times. So taking liberties, again, is nothing different." Darth Sidious writes, "Hey, John, I think the way you could describe your enjoyment of the Clone Wars show would be you tolerated it, but you don't love it." Yeah. I don't hate the Clone Wars show. I didn't hate it. But I was also not very impressed with it. Rebels, I liked a little bit more. Again, it's not the greatest show. It just, listen, when Rebels worked, it was outstanding. But there were also some stretches where it didn't work so well. But overall, I like Rebels. I count myself as a Rebels fan. I liked it more than I like Clone Wars. All made by the same people, but whatever. But yes, not a hater of Clone Wars, the TV series. I am a hater of the Clone Wars movie, 100%. That movie was garbage on every level. But yeah, I think that's a good way to. I think that's a fair way to describe it, Darth Sidious. I think you're onto something there. All right, Justin Welsh writes, "Hey, what's Willow talking about? Grew up, bagged milk in Vancouver, been away from the West Coast for 10 years, so maybe it's changed." That's right. I knew it because I've been to Vancouver and I know I bought bagged milk in Vancouver. Bagged milk is the way to go. Far more sanitary, far better. Far better. Keeps better, preserves better, more practical. There you go. Darth Sidious writes, "1 week until Fallen Order. John, are you hyped about it?" You know what? I'm not hyped about it.
What?
But here's why.
Even I am.
Here's why. The same reason why my mind is not completely obsessed on Rise of Skywalker right now. Because I got Mandalorian right in front of me. Having Mandalorian right in front of me is sucking up most of my enthusiasm right now. Because it's right here. As soon as I see the first episode of Mandalorian, then I will start to feel a little bit more excitement and enthusiasm. And I'm planning on getting Fallen Order. For Fallen Order, and obviously for Star Wars Episode 9. But right now, I got this upcoming thing that I'm super stoked about right in front of me. It's kind of like this. I was, of course, super excited for Spider-Man Far From Home. But asked me, John, how hyped are you for Spider-Man Far From Home 1 week before Endgame came out? Honestly, 1 week before Endgame came out, I'm not really thinking about Spider-Man Far From Home because I got Avengers Endgame right in front of me. And as soon as I had seen that, then the hype in my mind started going for Spider-Man Far From Home. But I am going to get this game for sure, Rob. I know because we saw the first time they put out footage from this game, we were like, oh yeah, this looks great.
Yeah, I mean, and to me, it looks like my last favorite Star Wars game was Force Unleashed. And I loved Force Unleashed, and this looks like along those lines. And I've read that the gameplay is great, but also there's a lot of, even every level you can go and just explore the nooks and crannies, and there's stuff to find, and it looks great to me, and it looks like my kind of game.
I played a bunch of Battlefield 2, but Battlefront 2, I should say.
Oh yeah.
But the last Star Wars game I really loved was Old Republic. Not Knights of the Old Republic, like Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO game.
Right.
Love that game. Love that game. I went back to it a couple times. All right. Let's see here. Where are we at? Luca A. The Friendly Film Fan writes, thoughts on Vietnam War drama Resurrecting James Dean. Apparently, the film is going to recreate the iconic actor via full body CGI THR. Yeah, we've covered that already, obviously, and it's going to be a question that we're going to have to wrestle with. Not necessarily in this specific situation, but I believe this is going to become a topic we're going to have to talk about more and more as over the next year or two. I think it's going to happen more and more. All right, Luca A writes, please use my super chat to promote your Patreon. Well, thank you so much, Luca. I appreciate that, guys. Become a Patreon supporter of the John Campea Show. I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a second. I'm even going to bring over a graphic, and we're going to bring this up properly. It's small, but support us on Patreon, everybody. There it is. There's my little Patreon thing. Support us on Patreon. And again, guys, don't forget, about 5 minutes after we're done the show, Rob and I are going to jump in the Discord server for a little post-show chat for you guys who want to come along and join us for that. So thank you for that, Luca. I really appreciate that, dude. All right. Lucas writes, it's honestly better than I expected score-wise. Sorry. Yes. Sorry, 50% Rotten Tomatoes for Last Christmas is honestly... Dude, I'm not... Hey, listen, I agree. That's way better than I was expecting. That looks like garbage.
I gave you my heart, and the very next day, you gave it away.
But 50%, that means half the critics like it.
Wow.
I have no plans on seeing this. No plans on seeing it.
Henry Golding's in it, dude. You know what I watched last night?
I love Henry Golding.
I watched a little bit of A Simple Favor, yo. I watched it. It was streaming.
Dude, that
Elizabeth
movie
had never
is
seen it.
So good.
It's a lot of fun.
I love that movie. And Henry Golding's great in it.
And so is Anna Kendrick. Deserves kudos for that performance.
Oh, look, Anna Kendrick.
Everybody was great.
Mrs. Ryan Reynolds.
Miss Lively.
Blake Lively.
Blake Lively.
Everybody's great in that. That movie, guys, if you have not watched A Simple Favor, it is the biggest surprise movie of last year to me. Or was it this year? Did it come out in 2018?
No, I think it's last year.
Okay. Biggest surprise movie last year, probably, was that one. It's fantastic. All right. Just got a few more to get through here, guys. Where are we at? Carlos Portillo writes, hey, John, I'm a Terminator fan, watched every flick, bad ones too. Do you think we Die Hard fans will ever get a Terminator movie set in the James Cameron future setting? I'm referring to the badass blue hue setting from Terminator 1 and 2. And he sent in a really large super chat. Carlos, thank you for supporting the channel on that level, dude. Well, you kind of did a little bit in Terminator Salvation to a degree.
Yeah, but I mean, I know what he means. That Skynet, Adam Greenberg, blue-hued Terminator lighting. Yep. That was, by the way, so cool in Terminator 2. The sound effects of the hunter killers, all that stuff. I could watch that for 2 hours. I mean, I'd watch a whole, but you know what? I don't think we're not going to get it.
Here's the thing. I remember James Cameron once said in an interview that that's not the story of Terminator.
I know.
That future where that's a background context in James Cameron's mind to Terminator. The story of Terminator is the time travel element, the idea of the hunter killer being sent back to take out the mother of the future leader of the resistance, one hero trying to stand up to them and stop them, and that's the story of Terminator, which I think is why they've had such a difficult time, why everything else that they've done Terminator-wise just feels like a rehash. And by the way, wouldn't that future movie just be Matrix? I mean, essentially, wouldn't that just be the Matrix? at that point if you're going to the future. So, here's the thing, Carlos. If James Cameron were to announce tomorrow that he was going to make that movie, I'd be excited. But to answer your question, I don't think we're going to get it. I honestly don't. I don't think we're going to get that movie. But if they were to announce it, I'd be excited. Rob, do you see any chance that they could actually do it at some point?
I mean, especially now. Do we ever see...
After the flopping of
I don't
Dark
know if
Fate?
we'll ever see another Terminator movie. But I do love... Like, even... I can hear the sound effects in my mind, those laser sound effects from the beginning of Terminator 2 and the Future War stuff. I love all that. And I can totally understand why he would want to see that.
All right. Next one comes to us from Nathan Taylor writes, what are some of your favorite Honest trailers? They do a really good job. The Honest trailers guys. Some of them are duds, but most of them
The Star Trek The Next Generation one they did, that Dan Murrell wrote and created, is amazing.
Dan just does a great job on so many things. All their Marvel MCU stuff ones are really great.
Yeah.
So I can't really pick one off the top of my head, but they do a really good job. Coolsome XD writes, I wish we knew how Snoke turned Ben. I don't care. I really don't. We talked about this on the show yesterday. How he turned Ben is not important to the story. It's not germane to the story any more than in the original Star Wars. How the Emperor turned Vader wasn't important. It wasn't important to the story. It just wasn't, and none of us cared, and none of us asked.
I want to know where he got that outfit. Like, if you're running the First Order, everybody still looks like a jackbooted Nazi thug, but he was wearing gold lame. Like, who made that for him? Did he decide to go to did Jean-Paul Gaultier or somebody? Who was the space designer that made Snoke's outfit?
I said on Dark Side, Light Side yesterday, I said, asking about, we need to know all the background information on what Snoke was, even though we don't. But I said, that's just one step away from going, we need a movie on how Maz Kanata got her small business loan to open that club of hers. How did she open that? We need to know. You left this unanswered question. It's not important to the story.
By designing Snoke's wardrobe.
That's how she got the loan.
Yeah.
It's not important. It doesn't matter. Just like in the original trilogy, when we got through the movies, we were going, because the movies focused on the story that mattered. Where Snoke came from, none of that's important. None of it's important to me. It doesn't contribute to the overall main narrative going on, and so I don't really care.
I want to know, I want to see the movie Wall Street, but set in the Star Wars universe. Competitive day traders on Coruscant. Who's the Gordon Gekko of the Star Wars universe? All we ever see is people in conflict. But there's got to be dudes and girls and creatures that just live in the city. What does the Sex in the City version of Star Wars look like? Manolo Blahnik.
You just gave him an idea for the next Disney Plus show.
Because I want to know what happens in the real world. Not everybody's at war all the time.
Dude, it's hard being a single girl on Coruscant.
I'm telling you, man.
It's hard being a single girl on Coruscant.
The guy who's dealing death sticks. What's his story?
Who made the great dating app in the Star Wars universe?
Yeah.
I want a Disney Plus show about the guy who created the most popular dating app in the galaxy.
What about Friends, but set in the Star Wars universe? Who's Joey?
These are the shows we need to see. Anyway, Daniel Hinoshiwa writes, ever rooted for the opposing team at a stadium? Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, this weekend, Ann and I, we've got courtside seats. We're going to the Lakers game, and they're playing the Toronto Raptors. So, yeah, and I've gone to an LA Kings game in LA when the Toronto Maple Leafs have been in town, so... Yep, it has happened, and it will happen.
Are you going to wear Raptors colors? I mean, the Lakers are doing pretty damn good.
Hey, listen, I love the Lakers this year. And look, a little bit side talk here. I didn't believe they would be all that great this year by adding AD. But you know what the big thing has been? Dwight Howard. Because they signed Dwight Howard on a non-guaranteed, flimsy little deal. Fine, you can come in. It's not even a guarantee. We can dump you like that. Because he just hasn't been him for years. And they signed him on a nothing contract. Dwight Howard right now is playing the best ball he has played in years. He is a monster defensively. And now you've got that to go along with LeBron, who's racking up, it feels like triple doubles on a nightly basis.
Oh, yeah.
To go along with everything else. Kuzma is playing better than I thought he would. Because there are people who really pegged him high, and I wasn't quite sure, but he's actually been living up to that hype. And they're on a 6-game win streak. They lost their opening game to a very good Clippers team that, speaking of the Raptors, have got Kawhi Leonard now. So they lost the first game, and they haven't lost since. So they're great, but I'm going to be cheering for Toronto. I'll be cheering for the Lakers any other night, but I'm going to be cheering for Toronto that night. So I'll be there in a Toronto jersey courtside. Anne's going to be in her Lakers jersey, and it'll be fun. Either way, it's going to be a great team. It's going to be a great night. It's going to be an absolutely great night. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Next up, Bad Murder Fergus 82 writes, 19 minutes of trailers and commercials before Dark Fate at Cinemark Orlando. Too much, right? Was going to complain. Then the movie came on. Was the opening scene with young Sarah safe for two.
Safe, the young scene with Sarah safe from T2, or was that all CGI?
I saw the movie. I don't remember that. Anyway, here's the problem. I don't want to go into it too much because I don't want to give away everything that's happening in the opening of that. So we can't go into that. That's just revealing too much. Taki75 writes, Rob, 400 blows or day or for night?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go day for night because it's more about adults. But, I mean, if you're going to watch a Truffaut film, if you're going to start and journey into Francois Truffaut's oeuvre, the 400 blows is where you should probably start.
All right. And final question of the day, ladies and gentlemen, comes to us from Mr. Sketch 22, who writes, Hey, Rob, what's your favorite hot toy that you own? Keep up the good work, guys. That's a good question. I've never heard you answer that. Like, what's your favorite one that you've got? Because you got a lot.
I have to say, my favorite hot toy is Vito Corleone from The Godfather. And it's an atypical hot toy. It doesn't belong to Star Wars. It doesn't belong to the Avengers. I just love that Hot Toys made Vito Corleone. But, and I know it's not as sexy as all that, but it's hard, dude. I mean, I was just looking at the Scarlet Spider figure that I just got yesterday.
Why don't you just hold it up there for a second?
Yeah,
while we're here.
Here's the new, this is actually from the video game, and it's a Sideshow exclusive. This figure, let me see there, it's not reflect, is amazing. It comes with slices of pizza. And this is from the Scarlet Spider from the video game. It is an incredible figure. Hot Toys just keeps killing it. They keep killing it. I mean, the Hulk Buster is an amazing figure. Heck, I even like my old school, it's got to be like 13 years old, my Ripley with the power loader from Aliens. God, there's so many good ones. Armored Batman from Batman v Superman, dude. There's so many good ones. So many good ones. That quarter scale Vader that's coming out.
That's going to be awesome. All right, guys. That'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of the show. Of course, thanks to Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. Thank you to all of you guys for making this show a part of your day. We appreciate that so much. And to all of you guys who sent in the live questions, thank you so much. Not only because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported the channel along the way while you were doing that. And we thank you so much for that, guys, making it possible to do what we do. Once again, guys, don't forget, a little bit later today, Robert Meyer Burnett and I will be back for the Weekly Hero, this time without technical glitches, and we should have all that up and running. Of course, we also have, for those of you who are Patreon supporters, don't forget, in about 5 minutes, Robert and I are going to be jumping over there to the Discord server, going to have a little post-show chat with you guys for those of you who want to jump over there. And of course, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. And tomorrow, Rob won't be here tomorrow, but we are going to have Chris Carr and Aaron Cummings here tomorrow, and I hope you guys will join us for that. All right, guys, that will do it for us for now. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.